Thank you all for checking out this week's episode. Once again, I'm John. If you like what you heard and saw today, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and check out our brand new merch store with hats, coffee mugs, t-shirts, other cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Again, thank you all for support. Be safe, and see you next week. How's it going, everyone? John here, the host of Spear Talk, and today we welcome the incredible Matthew Murphy to the show. Matthew is a former Green Beret in the U.S. Army, Special Forces sniper, Special Operations Terminal Attack Controller, foreign weapons expert, speaks Arabic, well-decorated, well-trained in the United States Army. He's also the founder and president of Operation Lightshine, which is a nonprofit based in Nashville, USA, and Tennessee, and that actual organization combats human trafficking and child exploitation. So again, Matthew, it's great to have you on here.
John, thank you so much for having me, man. It's an honor to be able to do this with you and talk about our mission at Lightshine and just everything surrounding that, and I guess a little bit about my past, how I got to starting Operation Lightshine.
And I think a good starting point, I know before we hit record, we are kind of just shooting around some ideas. It's like you mentioned, I know you'd post about this on your platforms before, but the idea that we're sorely lacking heroes in a society that is, for me, it's felt when I was a kid, like growing up, it was like I had like obviously my grandparents, my parents, the close people around me. And then if you look outside of that, there are athletes that I would watch, whether it was like Bobby Orr or Ali, and like these old videos, Larry Bird, and even people like John Wayne. And then as I get through college, Pat Tillman for me is someone that Prefontaine, these people that they weren't perfect people, but there's people that you look at their core beliefs and values, and like, man, this could be a hero for me. If it's not my mom or dad, I would follow Pat Tillman to combat. I would follow Prefontaine because what they believed in, right? But then you step back, and as I see my nieces grow older and my cousins, it's like, who are their heroes outside of their nuclear family? Like, what celebrity? And I hate saying that word, but what person out there, whether it's an athlete, a musician, that people can look up to and be like, this is a good role model. Like, this is a good person that we need. This is someone that is a light at the end of a very dark tunnel.
Yeah. Well, therein lies a problem that we're all facing and around the world right now is we've replaced real life heroes and actors with influencers. So let's be honest. We live in a world right now where influencers are king. They just did a poll for children 14 and under, and in America, every child wanted to be a vlogger, YouTuber, influencer, and that was number one. So what we're seeing is people are misplacing their energy, their attention, and really their admiration into things that don't exist. So what I mean by that is everyone wants to be an influencer, right? Everyone wants to be this person online behind a camera doing the latest dance or song or cool funny video, but that's not reality. Everybody has their admiration and their goals now to be something of someone that gets a lot of likes, a lot of follows, a lot of clicks, a lot of views. And unfortunately, these are people who are not really doing much in the real world, like where we all live. So we're all spending, like, everybody talks about the metaverse as this thing that's like coming. Well, no, the metaverse is already here and we all live in it. The average kid spends 7 to 9 hours a day on this. So if you're spending 7 to 9 hours a day on this and you're a kid, you're spending 8 hours in school. Well, hopefully you're spending, 8 hours
Right.
sleeping. I'm not bad at math. I'm not great at math, but that's the whole day. So you're spending your life in a phone, in an online fake world, liking and following and commenting and creating content to get more views and likes and follows in this world. And you're doing nothing in the world around you. And that's happened. We're all guilty of it. I'm
Right.
guilty of it. I spend more time than I like on my phone with work. But yeah, a notification pops up. I go on Instagram. Next thing you know, I'm watching a stupid reel of a baby and a puppy playing outside. And while that's some of that in moderation is a healthy distraction, our youth and our young people, usually the most motivated and driven, they're living their lives in this fake reality. And meanwhile, let's be honest, the world's burning around them.
Right.
you know so we've got to find a way. Now you can't make this go away. If I could press the nuke button and get rid of every cell phone and bring everybody back to flip phones and Motorola razors and, where you could just text and call each other, man, I think that would save humanity. But we've got to figure out a way to get people off these phones, limit their participation in these artificial realities, and get them back into living in the real life. One thing that I've realized is trying to figure out this battle that we fight with Operation Lightshine to stop child exploitation and human trafficking. And you realize, like, okay, for a charity, I need to get awareness, right? I need to let people know how bad the problem is. I need to let people understand that this isn't something that happens in other countries, it's happening in your backyard. Child exploitation is happening to hundreds of thousands of kids across the United States of America as we speak. How do you wake people up to that? So you make videos and you put content out there and you put information out there and you try to get people aware. But what are you doing? When you start to learn the marketing and the game of social media, you're trying to create a reel that's just short enough, impactful enough, not too scary, not too fluffy, to get the point across, to get people to action. And you have about a 15 to 30-second window attention span that gets smaller and smaller and smaller
Right.
every day. And then they see your reel and they might care. They might understand it's a problem, but then the next reel, and then there's the next reel, and then it's the puppy, and then it's the baby, and then it's the hot girl with their booty hanging out. And then, 5 minutes down the railroad, you've completely forgotten about the problem with human trafficking or any other problem that's going on in the world. And you've probably been introduced to about 5 to 10 other problems in those 5 minutes
Right.
that aren't in your backyard, that are happening in Ukraine or Asia or everywhere else. And now you're just freaked out, scared, and you're thinking about all the problems in the world instead of focusing on the one little sphere that you control, reality in the city, the town, the neighborhood that you live in.
And again, I wouldn't have found you without social media, Instagram, and I think obviously there is positive, like you said, reasons why social media and stuff can make a change. But one thing for you, and I guess the follow up what you just said, with the subject matter of human trafficking or the fentanyl crisis currently, the real epidemic and pandemic happening in the world right now, is the subject matter that is what scares people into not wanting to appreciate whether it's a reel or a video clip of a real situation? Because like when you see these same kids that are watching reels, they've played Grand Theft Auto, they've played all the Call of Duty games. So the idea of violence and the criminals and stuff like that from TV and all that stuff, I'm shocked that more kids aren't like, holy shit, like this is a real issue. Like I play these games where I get to fight cartels and all. It's like, but this is stuff that's really happening. People are really losing their lives. Families are being destroyed by drugs and all this criminal empire activity. It's like, how do you use something like Operation Lightshine, where you have to get to these kids and be like, this is a real problem. This is a great organization, but just listen here. Are kids just too lazy to, or even adults too lazy to understand what's going on? Or is it just so much easier to watch a twerking video? Like I'm trying to understand this whole thing.
I've watched this with my daughters, and I'm glad you asked this. I'm guilty of it. I'm a parent, but because of my career and everything, I was divorced. My daughters don't live with me. I get them twice a month if I'm lucky. They're, live in a different town. And I've seen this evolution and change in children from my 14-year-old daughter and my 10-year-old daughter. The current people that are following them and liking them, or the cool kids, the club, they are that online. It's not really real life anymore. They'll be sitting with their friends talking to each other on the apps and the comments and the likes and the clicks, and they start relationships on there. They break up with each other on there. They're not even really physically in relationships anymore, which I have daughters. I'm happy
Right, right.
for that, right? But it's really tearing down humanity because they're not learning how to interact with each other. They're not learning emotional response because the way that we learn is through the emotions and the reaction, the responses of others. So if you and I were sitting together at a table and I said something that hurt your feelings, I would realize that hurts your feelings because I would see the effect that it had on you physically. And then I would feel regret, remorse, and then, hopefully, if it was a good person, apologize or try to make it better. Well, when you do hurtful things to people online, there is no regret. There is no remorse. There is no that physical need to get that response. So these kids are becoming detached from realities. Their identity is in their phone. You take a teenager's or a child's phone or iPad away now, you've ruined their life.
Oh yeah.
You've made, and that's what's scary. It's not that the kids are bad people. It's that the world we're allowing them to grow up in and what we're allowing them to do is really changing their childhood. But not only that, it's changing who they are at the fabric of, like, the core of them as a person. Because all of those necessary life lessons that they should be getting, and the interactions they should be having with other people, are not happening in person anymore. They're happening online. So we're losing our kids. We've
Like,
literally lost our kids.
and it's when I was a kid, like growing up, like I remember it was an old Italian neighborhood with my grandparents, and my parents bought the house. And we would do stuff with kids, and whether throwing rocks or just big good kids having fun out there. But we had neighbors that saw everything. Now, if we did
Mm-hmm.
something really funny or cool, my parents knew about it for them. If we threw a rock too close to their car or were roughhousing, they saw me throw my sister or my friends hit me with a stick. They'd say something to my parents. Like everyone was aware in this town. Every grade you got, every school you scored, everyone was aware. And I'm sure there were the people on the outside that maybe the perverts, or obviously bad people exist in every generation. But it felt like I could still be a kid because I know my parents knew what I was doing. If my neighbor knew what I was doing, I knew my parents knew what I was doing. And it's like, again, when you have kids these days, it's like my mom is a teacher's aide would deal with some of these kids, and she'd be like, "Why are you watching this? Or why you don't dress like this or don't dress like that?" And they'd be like, "Well, my parents are never home to help me dress or pick up what I think or what should I wear. And I think based on this video I saw, I need to wear this type of skirt." And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like my mom is being acting as a mother for someone else's child. And it's like the excuses you always hear, and even my friends or family that have kids now that I'm just so busy with work. And it's like, well, hold on a second. I get that you have to help provide food and a roof. I get it. But is your first responsibility as a parent to make sure you're the proper leader for your kids? It's like, where do we draw the line? Maybe you could talk about this. Like, what is the
Yeah.
duty of parents? Like, how do you, as a single father, or as a father like
Mhm.
you that's got the kids
Yeah.
and doing your stuff here, you have to micromanage all this other stuff you're doing. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's doable, right?
It is. Well, it's definitely doable. I think we've forgotten how to be parents as a collective humanity. We've forgotten how to be parents because we are starting to allow everyone else to raise our children but us. We're so distracted in life, and arguably we're so distracted on our phones that we're allowing the schools and the phones to raise kids. They're not on the TV anymore. Kids don't really watch TV anymore. They play video games and they're on their iPads and their
Yeah.
iPhones. I mean, even adults don't really watch TV anymore unless it's Netflix. So the problem with phones is this. When you pick up a phone or you give your child a phone, you give them access to the world, right? So what most people don't realize is there is zero learning involved on a cell phone. There's no learning. If I want to know anything, all I have to do is type it in and the answer is there. So we were starting to see logic disappear, problem solving disappear in children. We're starting to see kids, the intelligence scores and the collective test scores in this country are slowly going downhill. And that's because kids are not having to try to figure out answers anymore. Right? There's no arguments about, well, what this is or who did this or who did what. If you have any conversation about anything, you just Google it and boom, the answer's there. So the human mind isn't working anymore. It's shut off on your phone. So our kids are just becoming, mindless drones on cell phones and on these apps. And what parents aren't doing is parenting. Because the same thing has happened to us. Here's what's scary. And I'm going to lead into what parents should be doing. But what's scary is that when we become these drones as adults, we've already had, for the most part, all of us, Whether you had parents or not, you had good influences in your life. You had to learn your own lessons. You couldn't just Google everything. You had to figure things out with your buddies and your friends, running around the neighborhoods, riding your bikes, learning what not to do through, correction. I do something stupid, I'm going to get in trouble. Like I make that ramp too tall, I'm going to end up in the hospital, but you learn all that stuff the hard way, those necessary life lessons. Well, these kids aren't learning that. I come home every day, and I just moved out of. I lived in downtown Nashville forever, but now I'm engaged and a baby
Yeah.
on the way, and so we moved out of town, and we're in the suburbs now. I come home or in and out, and in the mornings I leave. There's tons of kids all over this neighborhood hopping on school buses. I come home in the early afternoons, evenings. There's no kids outside playing. No one's running around kicking a soccer ball. Kids aren't running around to the neighbors' houses. They are in their homes on these devices. So here's where it gets dangerous. You just gave your child access to the world, and there is no longer any thought process. Stranger danger is no longer a thing, right? Because now you've just given the world access to them. And this is what parents don't realize, and so many are just oblivious to, is that when you're on your phone as a child, content is tailored towards you. TikTok in 2 hours can build a box around you and know
Oh,
everything there is to know about you. 2 hours, that's what TikTok claims. So they start to, algorithms just shoot content that you will enjoy, and then they can start to lead you down rabbit holes. Who are these advertisers? Who's in charge of these algorithms? What content are they putting in front of your child? Where are they steering your child's thoughts? Where are they steering your child's morals, their values, what they fundamentally believe in? Right? Where are they steering these things? Are they trying to destroy their morals and values, or what they fundamentally believe in? What's the agenda? I mean, are they trying to get them to buy a product? That's what marketing used to be, but now they're trying to get them to think a certain way, be okay with certain things, open their minds up to new,
right.
ideologies. So if you're not parenting and you're letting your kids sit there on the phone is parenting. Right? Now, here's what's different than us and our children. My parents, my parents weren't perfect. No one's parents are,
Right.
but they were actively involved in my life. They made sure I played sports. They made sure I got out of the house. They made sure I was able to maintain friendships. They made sure I was friends with the right people. Well, and they wouldn't let me hang out with certain kids if they acted a certain way, or if their parents let them do certain things, or I wasn't able to go to that house. My parents watched over me. They gave me morals. They gave me values. They taught me right and wrong. I did something bad, I was disciplined. I did something good, I was praised. And I had a healthy childhood. Now you look at where kids are today, they don't know who their kids' friends are. They don't know what their
Right.
kids are talking about. They don't know what content their child's looking at. And oh, my kid's a good kid. He'd never do that.
Right.
I mean, we were all 10, 11,
Yeah.
12, 13, 14. Here's where it's scary. You hear blowjob at school, right? Who doesn't hear blowjob or sex or penis or vagina or any of those things as children? You could be 6 years old and Google penis and vagina. What's going to pop up on Google?
Right.
What links can you go down? What next? Kids at 6 and 7 years old are getting addicted to pornography before they've even hit puberty in America right now. We're on a path for destruction because we have totally lost this generation. As a collective, we have totally lost this generation. So parents need to be parents again. Parents, we need to get off our phones. When we're with our kids, put the phones down. We need to start taking our kids outside, playing sports with them, games with them, getting them to read books, introducing them to concepts, but safely. A child's mind is clay. It's clay.
Yeah.
And they are sponges for everything, all information they absorb. But parents used to protect and shield the child and keep them away from information and things that the parent did not deem the child was mature enough for yet, right? You deflect it. You give them those strong morals and those strong values. You wouldn't let them read books that were bad. You wouldn't let them watch TV shows they shouldn't watch. That's why there used to be, I'm sure there still is, but no one cares anymore, age limits for movies, age
Yes.
limits for music. And we used to, as parents, we used to protect our children. We used to make sure, because we knew that the job we did as parents and the foundation that we set into our children would then allow them to go out into the world when they're 13 and start to experience and hear about sex. But they have that strong moral foundation, that value system, that right and wrong. We believe we've taught our kids right and wrong. So if they go out in the world, they make a mistake, they revert back to what their parents told them. Eventually they will. Well, now you don't know what your kid's doing. The average teenager spends 7 to 9 hours
It's
a day
crazy.
on their phone. 7 to 9 hours a day on their phone. So, like I've said earlier, if they're in school and sleeping, who's parenting? Who's raising
Yeah.
them? Who's teaching them right and wrong? Who's making sure that all this information they're getting, that there's a filter system, or there's someone that they can talk to, be like, hey, that's not right, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't watch that, here's what could happen to you if you do. That doesn't exist anymore. And so we're losing our kids.
When it comes to, again, social media and the ideas, as we start to transition to talking about the human trafficking itself,
Mhm.
a lot when the pandemic first happened, when the Epstein Island stuff and the Maxwell, and I remember some Wayfair stuff about human trafficking, and then the Malagencia stuff recently, which I want to talk about. All that
Yeah.
stuff was like, I have got to the point now in my life where it's like, hey, just because I question something or I want to learn more about something doesn't mean I don't whether believe in it or not. I'm also not a
Mhm.
conspiracy theorist because I'm asking questions.
Right.
But as it comes to kids, and specifically you as a father now, if your child or one of your kids' friends is like, hey, I saw this video on TikTok is about human trafficking, but I don't know if it's real or not. They say it was conspiracy theorist stuff. How do
Mhm.
you navigate and teach your kids about what's really happening in the world as it relates to social media and the aspect that it's easy to label something conspiracy theory when they don't want you to understand what's really happening?
Right. Well, so here's the problem that we all face as parents now. Because like I said, we were all blindsided by this.
Yeah,
We didn't know what was going to happen with social
no,
media and tech and phones and the things that our kids would be experienced, because we were blindsided by it too. Well, we didn't have this in childhood. Nobody prepared us for this. So here's, before I jump into that, I want to explain this, right? Anything we let our children do that's dangerous, right? Drive cars, go hunting, shoot guns, play sports, ride a dirt bike, whatever, we make sure we teach them, right? And we make sure we train them. And then we don't let them on it until they're mature enough, or the key
correct.
word, old enough, right? Like a car, for instance. If I want my child to buy a car, or I'm sorry, not buy a car. If I want my child to be able to learn to drive at 16, when they're 15 and they get their learner's permit, I'm out riding around the neighborhood, yelling at them, don't do that, and then get them to the point where I, as a parent, believe they are ready to go to the DMV. Then the state gives them a test, written and physical, driving the car, and then they get a license if they pass. But then when they get this license and they're behind the car, they're out on the public roads. So there's signs, there's laws, there's rules, and there's cops that'll pull you over if you don't follow them,
Right.
right? And you get a ticket. Well, the most dangerous thing in our children's life now is this cell phone, and there's no training for us as parents. There's no training for children, and we just say good luck. But what it's doing is it's literally altering their lives, and we've all been blindsided by that. So, as a parent, what I've experienced so far is you are no longer in control, really, or able to watch over what your child learns or how soon they learn it, because all of it's right there. Your kid can be on your iPad playing a video game, and the next thing you know, God knows what they click on or pops up or they look for, right? So what I found is I am in, instead of a proactive parenting mode, I'm in a reactive mode, trying to slowly figure out what they know, or or what they've seen, or what's on
Right.
their mind. Because my daughters know who I am, and what I've done, and what I do. They definitely know that. So what scares me, are they going to talk to me about a lot of this crap that they see, or that somebody tells them or sends them? Are they going to be scared to approach this with me? So I try to just have open conversations with my daughters, conversations I never thought that I would be having with a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old girl. But the sad reality is that because of social media, because of the internet and all these things, there's really nothing I could talk to them about that they haven't seen, experienced, searched, or been shown by a friend. And that's sad, you
Right.
know? So it's really just trying to maintain that trust with them, not be an overbearing parent, not be a helicopter parent. But at the same time, man, it takes every ounce of inside of me sometimes to be able to sit down and have these conversations with them.
Right.
But the reality is, they've seen it, they know it, and they might not always understand what they've seen, but now they have questions and
Right.
now they want to know. And so I've just got to be proactively reactive, if that makes sense, trying to be not their friend, their parent, but trying to be that trusted source in their life
Right.
where they see some stuff, they experience some stuff, they know that they come to dad. The dad's not going to beat up on them or get mad at them or upset that they can have confidence in sharing stuff with me, and I'm going to help them through whatever that is.
So they're very aware of like what Operation Lightshine is, like kind of some of the, so at least they have that type of like, well, wow, maybe he's helping victims that are younger than us. And it's like, so that's kind of cool there where it's like they at least understand where you're coming from as a father and as the leader of this organization.
Yeah, they do. But it's tough. Like, I don't want my daughters to know that there's men and women out there that are trying to sexually exploit them. I don't want that to be a reality in their life. I don't want to have those conversations with them, that so they can understand when people are talking to them or saying certain things to them that they have ulterior motives, because I can't protect them. I can't watch every conversation. I can't be involved in everything, and that's really where Operation Lightshine, comes into play in this. Is it's not just, and this is the crucial mission, rescuing the victims and helping supporting, overseas, rescuing the victims and working by with and through local governments and entities. And here in the States, supporting the police with equipment, technology, and training to go rescue more victims. It's not just that. We're trying to build this multidisciplinary approach to where, we can establish and make the aftercare system better to get the mental rehabilitation and care and safety and protection that these girls and boys need. We're trying to really bring awareness to the fight just as much as rescues, because nobody knows what to do, you know?
Right.
Like, to teach them about how to be safe online, how to use their phones, how to not talk to certain people, teach parents how to appropriately engage these conversations with their children, and help their children navigate this new world that we're living in. Because we're never going to be able to rescue our way out of this problem, but through education and awareness, we can make more parents and children aware of the environment that's out there and the threats. Because just like I said earlier, you give your kid this phone and they have access to the world. Well, the world now has access to them, through every game they play, every social media app they're on. And, kids are creative. Let's face it. When I was 13 and 12, 13, and, started to be attracted and look for girls, we were all looking for the guys in the neighborhood whose dad had a Playboy stash, and, kids are creative, and they find ways to get what they need and what they want.
Right.
And a lot of parents just put these apps on their phone where, oh, my kid can't look at that. I'm like, okay. And within 5 minutes, your kids Googled how to get around that, or their friends told them how to get around that to see what they want to see. So even these apps aren't really good at keeping them safe. The only solution to this is we have to get parents to realize they need to put the phones down. Kids, they need to put the phones down. There needs to be everything within reason. They need to regulate their time spent on social media. They need to be empowered with the knowledge that is necessary in order to be able to navigate this world. Because here are the facts: depression is up 60% in children since 2007. Do you know what came out in 2007? iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
up 60%.
Yeah.
Suicide rates in kids are skyrocketing, self-esteem issues. All these girls are constantly every day inundated with hot chicks and nice bodies and all these influencers. They're look, teenage girls now are trying to get plastic surgery to make themselves look better online because they don't feel adequate anymore because all the boys are liking and clicking the hot girls and now they're just nothing and nobodies, and their identity and their worth is in their following or in how many people are liking and commenting and clicking, and they're starting to lose their own self-worth in the real world, man. We are headed for really
Yeah.
really tough times, so we're playing catch up, and so Operation Lightshine is trying to attack all of this, in this multidisciplinary approach, as we start to expand across the country. Um, but man, it has been the most rewarding and difficult journey of my life. I did 17 years. I'm still actually not retired. That's a whole nother story, but I'm sure we can talk about that in a minute. But I did 17 years in the military, working with other government agencies and everything else. And that was difficult. Fought wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. Um, you know, seen it all, done it all, pretty much. Uh, Nothing. I think all of that prepared me for this battle, this fight that I'm in now with Lightshine, because this is just like nothing I've ever seen.
Well, I think it's a good leeway for me because I was curious with all your time spent in the military, obviously the horrors of war, whether there is PTSD involved. But how are you able to you fight 70 years of one war collectively, and then here you are on the streets fighting another war that's happening, and it's like, is there ever a moment with you when you're doing a current thing for Lightshine where you come across or your organization hears of a story where it's a trigger warning from your past actions in combat, where you're kind of like, holy shit, I can't get away from these emotions or these scenes and visions in my head?
No, I've never had that issue, man. I don't know if I'm wired different. I don't know if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, but my justification for this is I truly believe I was put here to be a warrior. That's all I've done my whole life is fight. That's all I know how to do is fight. Fight for good, right? There's a difference in a wolf and a sheepdog, right?
Oh yeah.
And having empathy for my fellow man, but I've seen evil, I've fought evil, I've faced evil. And because I know what evil is, I know what good is. And the thing that keeps me going, and really, I don't really lose sleep, I don't have a lot of bad dreams. The thing that keeps me going is knowing that I'm doing something to make someone else's life better. Right.
Right.
And the more, if I spent time, like before I started the charity, on the couch, drunk, depressed, suicidal, PTSD, woe is me, shit. If I spent my time, in that dark place, then I'm not doing my daughters
Right.
any favors as their father. I'm not doing my fiance any favors, as her partner. I'm not doing my company, my friends any favors. And at the end of the day, I'm not accomplishing my mission, right? My mission is to save children. So that is what keeps me going. Some people might say, oh, it's an obsession. Some people might say, oh man, you got no, like, we're not living in a world right now where you can just go sit next to the lake and toss your fishing pole in the water and everything's going to be fine. We're literally living in a world that's tumultuous. It's chaos, and our life and our future is changing right before our very eyes. And you have so many people with their heads buried in the sand, and just distracted and only worried about themselves, and not realizing that unless you start worrying about your community, unless you start doing things in the real world, that pretty soon, this problem is going to be at your doorstep too.
Right.
And then what are you going to do? It's like that Nehemiah poem, first they came for the Jews, you
Yeah.
know, and I did nothing because I wasn't a Jew. Well, we live in a society of a lot of people who are doing nothing,
Yep.
right? And so I created Operation Lightshine to be a vehicle for change to save humanity. Because if you can't get behind saving children, the most precious thing
Sacred.
in our
Yeah.
life, right? If you can't get behind saving children, then you've got nothing left. Maybe you belong sitting in your closet, pretending like nothing's wrong with the world because we don't need you. Like we need people who understand what's happening to our society and what's happening to our kids and want to get off their ass and do something about it. And, myself and the team at Operation Lightshine, we built something that they can get behind, that they can support, and that is actually making a difference.
Before we're active, when you were active in the U.S. Army doing everything you were doing, how aware were you? Like, because for me, I didn't really know about human trafficking. I mean, you would watch the movies or you see like the documentaries about the cartels and stuff. So I was aware of that. But it wasn't until Epstein Island stuff and the Maxwell stuff where it's like it came out at a time where everyone was at home. And I
Mhm.
guess my question to you is, were you aware of this type of stuff in the military like 10, 15 years ago? Like what was the catalyst that finally
Mhm.
got people to start asking these questions? Because
Yeah.
thank God they did, because questions are now being answered, and this whole spider web you've kind of talked about is starting to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So COVID was a unique time in human history. Obviously, the world shut down,
Yeah.
and we all were trapped in our homes, either willingly or oppressively, one of the
Yeah.
two. And we were just inundated with information. Now, COVID did a lot of good things, but it also did a lot of horrible things. Besides what we all
Correct.
know,
Correct.
psychologically, what COVID did was it made people live in a bubble and build an echo chamber. You know, um, and you tailored your echo chambers and your knowledge based on what you thought was happening with COVID, and that's why we're the most divided, I believe, in human history right now, because there is no middle ground. I was talking with a buddy the other day who's a part of the board of the charity. He's like, you're either in your echo chamber or you're in a fist fight. There's no in between, you
Yeah.
know, and you can't have a reasonable conversation with someone who disagrees with you anymore. So what COVID did was COVID allowed us to go down rabbit holes for days, man,
Oh God.
because we had nothing to do.
Those
You know, you
first six
know,
months were in pure insanity.
literal insanity. You're like
Yeah.
statistics, facts. Everyone's going to die. No, they're not going to die.
Right.
The deep state's trying to take over the world. Like, dude, there was so much stuff going
Yeah.
on. And there's some truth in some things. There's lies in some things, but the conspiracy theory model. Everybody says, oh, like now everything's being proven that the conspiracy
Correct.
theorists are being proven wrong. Or I'm sorry, right? My bad. And it just goes to show you that they're not necessarily conspiracy theorists. What they were is people that didn't eat the bullshit, so to
Yeah.
speak. They weren't eating up all this nonsense. They were looking at things logically and factually. And unfortunately, with social media, we have given anyone the power to spew their nonsense. We've given everyone the power to spew put their agenda out there and put numbers out there. And if it goes viral, it's true, right? If it has more likes, it's true. If it has most comments, it's true. The most shares, it's true. So we've given any idiot the ability to do stuff. And we have so many people out there that take half truths and they make assumptions and they run
Yeah.
with it, and we've removed logic, science, data, statistics, and facts from the equation. And we've filled, reality with idiots, and what has also happened, a lot of the human trafficking stuff was bullshit. I hate to say it, man, and apologize for saying shit a lot. I was in the military. I'm in
No,
rehab for
I
cussing
love
right
it.
now.
That's all good.
So, um, but a lot of it was nonsense. Some of it was true. Obviously, the Epstein stuff was very, very true. Gazelle Maxwell is the first woman who was, arrested for human trafficking to nobody. You know what I mean? There's so many things that happened in that. But at the end of the day, the truth of human trafficking is bad. But here's what happened: is you've got most people focused on what they think is this elite network of politicians and whatever who
Yeah.
are trafficking humans and drinking the blood of babies and all this stuff. You've got them totally distracted, just obsessed with that, when in reality people are being trafficked probably in your county, probably in your city,
Yeah.
right under your nose. There's real victims in your neighborhood. I've got partners in this charity stuff, in the charity coalition, we'll talk about in a little bit, who can drop pins on homes that are sharing the sexual abuse of children. And this isn't like 16-year-old girls, it's toddlers. And
Oh God.
thousands in each state. Thousands. At any given moment, there's over 100,000 people in America, idiots, sharing graphic child sexual abuse material on torrent sites. Idiots. It's a felony. And this isn't, like I said, 16-year-old girls. I mean, I'm going to be graphic for a second so people understand
Yeah.
the gravity of this. The titles are "3-year-old takes it in every hole for daddy."
Right.
That's the titles of this shit. This is what they're downloading. This wasn't like an oops, you know. Um, so the reality of human trafficking, the reality of child exploitation is so bad that aren't seeing the truth of it. What they are is they're focused on the lies. Everybody's focused on Wayfair and Pizzagate and going down rabbit
Yes.
holes and putting all these things together. Now, I'm not here to say they're true or not true. What I can say is there's not a lot of real evidence to back any of those things up.
It sounds
You know,
sexy, right?
it
The
sounds,
same
oh, there's
sex.
this huge
Yes.
conspiracy. There's this huge conspiracy going on, and I'm in the know because I did this research, and this guy was born on this date who had sex with this girl over here 10 years ago. And next thing you know, you're the dude from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
red
Yeah.
yarn all over the room. But no, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And but the reality is, man, is human trafficking and child exploitation are a systemic problem that are all around us throughout the United States of America. Systemic problem. It's happening in every neighborhood. Child exploitation, somebody either sharing or downloading the files or harming a child in this country. Don't believe me? I'll show you. So the problem is that's the reality. But you have so many Americans fixated on all these huge stories and conspiracy theories. They're putting all their energy into something that may be true, might not be true, who knows. But you know what, is that worth your time when there are hundreds of thousands of people, living and breathing people here in the United States, who are suffering and no one gives a shit? No one cares. The media won't cover it. News won't talk about it. Influencers and celebrities, most of them are terrified to speak out about it. Everybody's worried about losing followers, likes, clicks, and shares. Everyone's worried about losing their social media status.
That's why I
And
love
more,
Ashton
yeah,
Kutcher. He does all the stuff for
yeah,
Congress and stuff. It's like people
yeah.
asked him in an interview a couple months ago, like, "Hey, are you gonna do movies, you get a TV show?" My fight right now is to help these kids that don't have a fighting chance. And it's
Amen.
like that you need. That's leadership to me. That's someone that's taking a stand. You say, what? I've got millions upon millions in the
Yeah,
bank. I'm going to put this to a good use. It's so
yeah.
so a two-part question here. When you talked about the stuff these people do on these torrent sites, these guys get captured, or women, if after doing this stuff, is it wrong of me to just want to take them out back and shoot them? Like, why do like
So,
how do I my anger towards hearing that? I don't know if it's
mhm,
misguided in the sense where
mhm,
you can't be a vigilante, right? Obviously. Now, if that was
yeah,
my daughter or niece, you might as well just put the handcuffs on me because I'm going scorch earth, right? But how do
yeah.
I, as a citizen, control my anger to the point where it's beneficial to an Operation Light Shine, to a where it's like, how do you do it?
Well, can I tell you the story of why I started Operation Light Shine real quick, so maybe you can understand how I did it?
So this is your sister
Yeah,
Sarah, correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
My sister said, it's like I said, Green Beret, 17 years of service at this point. I'm still not retired. I retire December 30th. When I'm getting med boarded because stuff that happened to me in service, I'm
Yeah.
medically retired December 30th. And
Damn.
when that process started, it was right after I decided to start Light Shine. So Light Shine started to get some traction. And, I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, but my command told me, get the fuck out of here and save kids.
Badass.
Yeah. So, I follow orders. That's what I've
Yeah.
been doing.
Yeah.
And, so I started the charity because I lost my sister. So, November 5th, 2019, I got a call from my mom that my little sister Sarah was taken and disappeared. Uh, man, my just a little backstory. My sister, drugs. It started with pills and Xanax and party stuff and pot, and the next thing you know,
Of
she went
course.
down the rabbit holes, man. But I'm 10 years older than her, and I had been all over the world with work, so my parents kept a lot of her life hidden from me because they were scared of what I might do, right? But also, I was detached from it. I just heard the stories my mom would tell me. It was tough on my family. It was hell on my family. It was tough on me to know that my little sister had done that. I mean, I got a family full of doctors and
Yeah.
successful business people, and everyone is just crushed life. And then you see my sister, towards the end doing heroin and obviously fentanyl and all this other stuff, and it hurt. It hurt a lot. That's my little sister. It's
Yeah.
and so the little girl, we used to beat up as little kids, but anybody else mess with her, we destroy her soul. And it was tough, man. But November 5th, 2019, um, I got a call from my mom that she had went missing. And this was different because she would always have her cell phone on her, and she would always respond to text because, yeah, obviously when you have a very bad drug problem and parents who are upper middle class, decently to do people, it's very simple to call mom and get money because mom doesn't want you to end up
Correct.
on the streets. Well, unfortunately, what I found out after she was taken, that was the case. Um, she had been on, the worse the drugs get, the worse the people get. So she got involved with this group of people who deals heroin and fentanyl and everything else, and they take advantage of women. This is all too common throughout America right now because of this fentanyl epidemic that we're living in. It's out of control.
Yeah.
What's happening with fentanyl? And especially it happens to men too, but more often than not, women are the only thing they have once they're out of money or don't have a job as a drug user in their life is they can sell themselves for their fix. And unfortunately, guys that sell the drugs take advantage of these women. They traffic them, prostitute them out, rape them themselves, beat them. It's the gateway drug into prostitution and trafficking is heroin and fentanyl, right? And that was happening to my sister. I didn't know that. I found that out after she was taken. Um, but she's taken this guy who had beaten the shit out of her, months ago. She promised she'd never see again, never go to again. This guy picks her up. We've got it on a doorbell camera, and he said some story. We still don't know what happened. The story he said is that she went to Mississippi with some guys. So when the cops first investigated, they were just like, "Oh, well, she went to Mississippi with some guys. Here we got a girl who's been in multiple multiple
Yeah.
things with the law, has a record, isn't living the best life." I'm not saying that's why the cops didn't look for her, but I'm pretty sure when you have a stack of murders and missing people, you're not busting your butt to save the
Correct.
girl that has a drug problem. She's not the prom queen. I get that. But also at the same time, she's a person. She was my sister, right? Nothing happens. The cops' answer was basically, if we hear anything, we'll let you know. Now, me being a Green Beret, all the other stuff I've done in my career, counterterrorism, man, it took every ounce in me to not go get vigilante justice, to not just go start dropping bodies. And because the thing I realized, one, if I did that, if I don't know what happened to my sister, I don't know where she is, but if I had done that, then I would not be able to be the dad to these two girls.
Correct.
I'd be in jail. I would not be, I would throw my life away and potentially my daughter's lives away without a father, um, trying to get, revenge for my sister. I wrestled with that every single day. So much that when her body was found in a river in Mississippi on Christmas Eve 2019, I was like, this is it. I almost loaded up the boys. We almost went down there and took care of
Yep.
every single person, right? Maybe one day. No, I'm totally kidding,
Yeah.
joking.
Yeah.
Uh, but had that ability. These guys are scum of the earth. They're losers. Just drugged out losers who are taking advantage of women and men. But what I knew is if I did something, right? If I did something, then my life would be over, my daughter's life would be over, and all I would get was revenge, right? These assholes will get what's coming to them. but I couldn't swallow that pill at first. So, this was the Christmas Eve 2019 when she was found. So, fast forward in early 2020, the Special Forces Group pulls me out of operations. I'm basically I'm a JTAC instructor. It's one of the jobs that I did,
Yeah.
but nothing that I really enjoyed. So I'm just a JTAC instructor. I'm not working. I'm trying to be there for my family, and I hit rock bottom, man. The lockdown started. I'm just in my apartment in downtown
Oh,
Nashville. I just became a depressed, angry drunk. Angry,
yep.
angry at myself for not doing more, angry at the cops for not doing any more. Some days I would blame my sister. Some days I would blame my parents. I was a mess, man. That was the lowest point of my life at that, because I felt like the biggest failure, that I couldn't help my own sister, but here I am. I can drop a bomb on a terrorist for digging a hole,
Right.
and well, yeah, he's up to no good. Boop,
Yep.
and but here I am back in the States. I can't even keep my own sister safe. The cops can't keep my own sister safe. That's what I thought at the time. It's like, what are these guys doing? Do they even know how to do their job?
Yeah.
I don't even remember how many people I cussed out and probably need to apologize to at the Memphis Police Department and everywhere else. But I was a ball of anger and rage, and all I had, and I almost committed suicide a couple times. Just sitting there with the gun, staring at it, drunk. It was bad. But I started playing Call of Duty. This is what changed my life. I started playing Call of Duty all day, every day, because I had literally nothing else to
Yes.
do, nowhere else to go. Like so many Americans, I'm sure. Well, in playing Call of Duty, um, there's this thing where if you kill enough people in multiple different ways, your gun gets gold, right?
Yes. Prestige, right? Or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
prestige. Yeah, and you get a gold gun. And so I had finally, this day came where I did the last thing and I got the gold gun, and I'm all excited. I'm like, oh shit, I got the gold gun. Like, I'm just like a cloud nine. Finally, my whole life, it's come down to this. Like,
Right.
what the fuck are you doing, Matt?
Yeah.
Here I am, you know, a Green Beret, all the other stuff, Iraq,
Yeah.
Afghanistan, Syria, travel all the world, can't even talk about, half the stuff I've done in my life. And I'm sitting in an apartment, drunk, depressed, hating my life, playing Call of Duty. Like, bro, like how I have
Right.
fallen. That was my wake up call. And I did something that I hadn't done and I can't remember. I said a prayer. I prayed that, for God, somebody, show me a way. So I started Googling human trafficking, started looking into how bad it is. I started looking into, hey man, like there's charities that do stuff about this. I was like, wait a second, and I started to learn about all these charities that are out there. They get guys like me and they go, hunt human traffickers and save kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that's the ticket. But then I was like, no one's doing it here in the States. There's people that donate stuff to the police. I was like, nobody's hunting these assholes in the States. All these charities are, just going overseas and taking all these donors' money overseas and saying, because now life is a life. A person's a person. And yes, we do a lot of stuff and support a lot of stuff overseas. But I'm like, I couldn't even help my own sister in America.
Right.
So what am I going to do here in America? Right. So I became obsessed, man. I Googled how to start a charity. I, found an entertainment lawyer through a friend, wrote up all the charity, stuff that you need for a 501c3 and bylaws and incorporated all that nonsense. And I was like, I'm doing this. But my first thought was, I am going to, do this vigilante stuff here in America. I'm going to get the boys and the girls together. We're going to do this intel special operations style mission here in America. We'll go wrap these dudes up, put them in cuffs, and drop them on the police's doorstep, kind of like Batman. I did
Yeah.
not really, I did not really think this through. I was in obsession mode, right? I was like, I'm going to do something. I couldn't save my sister, but you know what? I'm going to save another kid. I'm going to save somebody else from her fate. You know, take that pain and put it to purpose. So yeah, so I do all that and build up this system. We got hackers and all these crazy ideas, and we're about to launch. And luckily for me, what changed my life, created Operation Lightshine, and has led me on this unbelievable journey. It still hadn't been easy, but it's been unbelievable. Was I had a buddy, have a buddy who is a Homeland Security agent by
Yep.
day and a starving, country artist at night here in Nashville. And
Hell yeah.
he good friend, great guy. And he's like, Matt, you need to talk to somebody. What you're wanting to do. It's like it's vigilante, it's legal, it's like Batman, bro. You're gonna get in trouble if you
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
right.
right.
You're gonna save like one or two, and then it's over. You know, and then you're gonna be asking for leniency because you did so much cool stuff in your life. You're basically throwing your life away. And you didn't have to be so direct about it, man. So, anyways, long story short, I finally get the opportunity to meet with a gentleman named Jim Cole. Jim Cole is considered one of the top experts in the world at fighting child exploitation. He's one of the developers of the victim centric approach on how they combat this crime to rescue the victims and then identify the offenders. And he's the chair of the board of child crimes for Interpol. I mean, widely respected around the world, knows everybody in this space. There's very few people like him. With my luck, he ends up doing the last 2 years. He moves from DC. These last 2 years as a Homeland Security agent, he's doing in Nashville, Tennessee. So I got the best dude in the world in my
Yeah.
backyard. Right. So let's go. I'll set up a meeting with Jim Cole. It took 3 months, right? So I go into this room and it's full of Homeland Security agents. Got Dennis Fetting, who oversees trafficking for the
Yeah.
Homeland Security, and Jim Cole in there, and all a bunch of agents, some FBI people were there, and I'm like, oh shit, what did I get myself into, man? So I'm excited walking in this room. Like I think they're about to eat this up, right? Like this idea, like thumbs up me. And I gave Jim, I told him every idea I had, and I was met with, that's illegal, that's vigilante, we'll arrest you, put you in jail. Someone already does that much better than you can do at the scale that you're at. And yeah, you're so, and by the end of that happened, man, I went in this room on
Deflated.
cloud
Yeah.
nine, and now everything that I'd just been working on for the past few months just went out the window. So the way Jim says it, I don't remember what I said exactly because I've been blown up so many times. My short-term memory is shot. But he said, I leaned back in the chair. And I remember looking up, just kind of said a quick little prayer in my head, like, and then I just looked at him. I was like, dude, you tell me that, you tell me what I can do, to honor my sister and with the charity and save lives. So Jim's been an agent for, going on 30 years. He retires in March. And he had this concept of bringing federal, state, and local law enforcement together in a unified task force to fight this crime set, trafficking and child exploitation. Because even though the modalities are completely different, the tools, the investigative resources, and and the techniques are very similar, right? So it's like, wait a second, and I started to learn what I didn't know about the cops in Memphis. It's not that they probably didn't care, it's that they're overworked, it's that they're understaffed, they're under resourced, they're undertrained, they're under equipped, and technology or the use of it is almost non existent unless you're in the biggest law enforcement departments. I didn't know all these things. Most people assume that the cops, like, kid goes missing, they just hop on this little computer and boom, 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 boom. They're triangulating the cell phone and know everywhere you've been and everything that you've done, and they're going to go rescue this kid. That's not real life. They
Right.
can't do that. They have to submit warrants and they have to get some. That's just not real life. And on their desk is a stack of cases. Murders, robberies, aggravated assaults, domestic violence, all this other stuff that they've got to deal with. And at the end of the day, when it comes to trafficking and exploitation, the amount of technology, the amount of investigative resources, and just physical boots on the ground time it takes to work through these things, most police departments, if not all, do not have the resources they need to adequately tackle this problem. Like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Operation Lightshine is now going to create task forces We're going to create them all across America, and we're going to support them with the model that I know that fought the global war on terror. We're going to bring in the tech. We're going to bring in the intel analysts. We're going to bring in all of the right people, the subject matter experts, and we are going to support the police and equip the police with every single thing they possibly need so that if a child goes missing, we'll find them. If there's trafficking rings, we'll take them down. And
Yeah.
if there's exploitation going on, the second we'll be proactive about it. Because here's the problem, and this is the truth. Since 1998, it's 1998. This is from NCMEC. This is actual data, not the bullshit you see on the internet. Actual data. There have been 123,000 reports, and still grows every day, of child trafficking. 123,000. Okay. On the same token, there have been over 128 million incidents of child exploitation since that same time frame.
Jeez.
So child exploitation outnumbers the potential cases that they could get to if they had the ability, outnumbers human trafficking 1,000 to 1.
Jeez.
That number since COVID has skyrocketed off of the model of growth. It's out of control now. There are over 366 million images and videos depicting the graphic rape of an infant, toddler, or child on the internet right now. 366 million. So that's what we're up against. And that 123,000, that's a lot of kids being trafficked. That's just what they know about.
Right.
The exploitation, it's a little bit better for statistics because it happens in the digital world, but that's just what they found.
Now, I
Right?
know we had talked about this
Okay.
before we started recording, but like the Balagencia ad stuff, when it's so in your face like that, is that
Yeah.
considered an example of exploitation of a child? With the
Yeah.
get masks and like the
You're
leather.
promoting it. You're
Right.
promoting the sexualization of a child. Yeah, of course. So I don't like to call child exploitation because I don't think it does the proper it doesn't do what happens to these kids the justice, right?
Right.
So they call the right now the legal statute calls the production of pictures and videos of a child being abused, molested, raped, or just that imagery of a nude child.
Yes.
They call that child pornography. Okay, that's not pornography, right? So we call it child sexual abuse material,
Yep.
right? I call it child rape material because you're literally violating a minor who has no say, no right, no protection. You're violating a minor's innocence, and it's adult doing it. To me, that's the most evil thing you can possibly do, is the rape, molest, or harm an innocent child who looks to an adult for protection. To me, I don't know if there's anything more evil than that.
Right.
Once you've crossed that line,
It,
you're done.
yeah.
In my mind, you're the devil. But
The
anyways,
to kind of before you go any further,
yeah.
when I started the podcast, I had Dr. Lois Lee on the show. I think she was my first or second guest. And so she started Children of the Night back in the 70s and helping these prostituted women and stuff get off the streets. So I had that, and I was met with just a ton of reception, but the subject matter was and people YouTube pulled my video for like 2 months because they thought whatever, it's back up there now. So, but I got reached out to by an organization that saw the interview. Was like, oh yeah, we'd love to be at your show. This is what we are. And it was obviously anti-child pornography. Like it seemed like on the up and up, like whatever. So when I talked to the founder, and I'm not going to name him or whatever, but he was like, I am a recovering child sex, not what is it when the person's a sex offender, a child recovering child predator. And I started this organization because I realized my actions. I'm looking to make sure it doesn't happen again. And my first thought was to grab this guy through the phone and just punch him. But then I sit back and I kind of take a deep breath and go, hey, like, I appreciate what you're trying to do now, but there's just some stuff I can't understand or don't want to put the time in to understand. Thank you for your time. And to your point, once you do cross that threshold, sure, okay, man, oh yeah, I'm going to change my ways. But you already did the most evil thing you could do on earth. And it's like, how do you it just blew my mind. These type of organizations are promoting you could come back from this, or worst case, if you are a pedophile, you're not actually bad. You can become a new letter in the LGBTQT type thing, and it's just like I don't understand it.
I don't understand a lot of things that are going on in the world right now, brother. I don't. To me, I feel like I'm living in the movie Idiocracy every time I
Yeah,
watch the news or pick up my phone. The way that people think and the decisions they're making these days or what they believe in, none of it makes sense. But it all comes from this.
yeah,
Well, it all is delivered to you on this, but you don't really know where it's coming from, right?
right,
Everyone's agenda could be out there. Everyone can have access to you. Whoever has the most money wins your time and wins your thoughts and can
yeah,
steer and navigate your morality or your conscience. So no, I personally, now I'm not a doctor. I will start off by saying that. I think once you've crossed that line, to where you have harmed a child, to me there's no forgiveness in that. I'm not God, I'm not Jesus, it's not my job to forgive you. But for me there's no forgiveness in that. I don't believe there's any going back from that. Once you've accomplished something most evil, you know I don't you're capable of that again in my mind. you know that's why in the military we get put through hell physically, mentally. We get put in situations where we can screw up and make mistakes because you don't know who someone is until they're given a choice, right?
right.
Everybody's a great person until they're put in the flames, right? Everybody's a pastor, a preacher, a respectable man until he's in a hotel with a prostitute and some cocaine. Like you don't know who people are until they've been through things with you, until they've proven themselves to you, they've chosen the rights over the easy wrongs. Yeah. So not to go on a tangent, but for me, there's no recovery
No, there
from
isn't.
once you've been able to hurt a child. What they've also found, which is scary, I'm not going to be able to remember the study, but you can Google it. You can Google anything, right? Um, Apparently, 1% of adults are sexually attracted to children. Like,
Jeez.
again, I'm not a mathematician, but that's a lot of people,
Yeah,
a whole lot of people. Now, that's not saying that 1% are going to go act out on that, right? But that means 1% are maybe thinking about it, or maybe watching videos. Uh, and here's where we're at now, though, that I think we're experiencing something else as a society we've never experienced before. If you go back 15 years, right? Let's say I went to my buddy's house and he had a daughter, and his daughter ran downstairs in her underwear or something. First, you'd be like, "Oh God," hey, go put some clothes on, whatever, and then you would, like you would shield yourself from that, but you would never even be able to come into the house where you would be even able to see that unless the parents trusted you, right?
right.
And you would
Yeah,
never be experienced to seeing underage girls or seeing all this kind of stuff, or be put in these kind of situations, right? Well, welcome to TikTok. What we're seeing is grown men. There's no age filters. There's no, like, oh, she's 12, or you can't see it. So you're seeing men scrolling through their TikToks or their Instagrams, and a 14-year-old girl looks a lot like an 18-year-old girl. And then they're like, well, that 12-year-old girl looks a lot like that 14-year-old girl. You see where I'm going with this? Because they're sexualizing themselves. They're making these hot, sexy videos, wearing the makeup, and you're seeing these guys go down these social media rabbit holes.
yeah. And they leave
And we
comments too that are like
Yes,
not only
to
very
underage
graphic
women.
and very direct, and it's like who's monitoring this stuff? Because these
Right.
kids will see those
Nobody.
comments, be like, "Oh my god, that man with the beard loves me," and I'm gonna send him a
Yeah.
message, and then he starts grooming these kids.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
oh, what
But
a
and a
oh
lot of men are getting led into it. And I'm not saying I agree, but let's say if you're one of those 1% that's predispositioned, or
yeah,
dispositioned, I get to be attracted to kids, and you're scrolling, and this fuck, man, this just happened to a guy in third group, girl on TikTok. Developed some kind of thing and then met up with her and raped her, and she was 13 or 14. This
Jesus,
just happened last week. It's happening all across the country in ways we've never seen it because guys have the ability to see and be attracted to and converse with children in ways they've never been able to. I'm not saying I understand, but I'm saying I see how it can happen. I'm not an idiot. I can see if you're an adult on TikTok and a 14-year-old girl is doing a dance in underwear with her friends that are just hit puberty, and you're starting to watch this video, or you like the video, or you're looking at more of her videos. Now you have access to that girl because I can like it. I can send her a message. I can, start to try to, you know, in 14, 12, 10, where does it stop? You know, we're giving everyone access to our kids, but we're allowing our kids to give them stuff to want to access them with.
Right.
So parents are failing just as much as they're failing. Your 10-year-old daughter should not be doing sexy dances on TikTok, nor should your 14-year-old daughter.
Correct.
So where everyone can see them do it. Because if you're going to allow them to turn themselves into a sex symbol, unfortunately, in this world, you're allowing other people to view them as a sex symbol. And it's not their peers. They could be 30, 40, 50, 70. So parents are just as much, and I'm not saying they're to blame for the evil act, but a lot of parents, through just their, inability to think this through, are complicit in this because they're allowing their children to sexualize themselves in avenues where everyone has access to. It's like it mind blown to me that parents don't get this, and see this correlation. Stop letting your kids create these accounts. Stop letting your children live their lives on social media. Yes, social media can be good in small doses,
Yeah.
regulated doses, monitored doses. In China, you can be on TikTok 40 minutes a day if you're under the age of 14. And the only content you can see on TikTok in China
It's like
in those 40
music
minutes a
or
day,
like science or math or like,
engineering.
yes, yes.
Yeah. America, you can spend 7 to 9 hours a day, which is the average amount of time a teenage girl spends on TikTok a day. I don't know how they do it. And what are they looking at? There are self-esteem issues from other hot girls, bullying issues. They found that cutting and depression videos have been algorithmically steered towards kids.
Yeah.
They're constantly comparing and judging themselves. There's no empathy or apathy for others anymore because they can be bully or mean to anybody because they can gang up with others. They can be predators have access to them. When you allow your kids to have free reign for 7 to 9 hours a day on a phone, you as a parent and even the school are no longer the biggest influences on that child's life. Whoever they're following, whoever they're secretly talking to, whatever videos they're watching, whoever's tailored their propaganda or their marketing or whatever to your kid now owns your child's brain.
Right.
You don't anymore. And if you think you do, you're lying to yourself to make yourself feel better.
Crazy.
That's where we're at as a society. So we need parents to be parents again, because obviously TikTok in America isn't making sure that American kids are okay and get
Right.
40 minutes and get educated. TikTok of America is making sure American kids are all kinds of effed up.
Oh,
That's
hell
what
yeah.
TikTok in America is doing.
Be
And
yeah, go ahead.
no, so and why would they do that?
Yeah,
You know?
it's easy.
Yeah.
Uh, Before I let you go here, Matthew, this has been awesome. If someone wants to reach out to Operation Lightshine or get involved in some way, whatever, what's the best avenue to do that for them?
Well, so we through our website, our Instagram, Facebook has pretty much buried us under the Facebook algorithm gel.
Yeah.
But Instagram's been pretty good. I mean, people can interact with us. I mean, and send messages. We got a couple email addresses to reach out for info to volunteer. But just real quick, our task force concept, we launched it in Nashville, Tennessee, and in February of this year. So last year, Homeland Security alone had 20 rescues in Middle Tennessee. Since February of this year, the task force is up to 59. So we've tripled the amount of rescues in just phase one of the task force. It's caught on so well. I've been in meetings with, at this
Jeez.
point, 15 governors to move to their states. So we're already expanding into Florida. We've got a task force in Jacksonville, soon to launch one in Fort Myers and Tampa, hopefully January, February. We're looking at moving into Virginia now, Arkansas, Mississippi, Missouri, Ohio. We've been in talks with a lot of different states. But one thing I did, this model works, and the partnerships and the people that we've had, come onto the team to support the police in these rescues, to make the police be able to go from just reactive to where they're proactively out there keeping our communities safe. Because these police want to do that. They just don't have
Correct.
the help. They don't have the support. And so I've dedicated, I spent the first half of my adult life as a soldier, but I have dedicated the last part of my life until the day I die to doing everything I can to save children, to support the police and the brave men and women and law enforcement around this country in being able to do that job to the best of their ability. And by just simply saying, what do you need? So we're expanding these task forces across the country, but we can only move as fast as the money comes in. Now, here's what I want people to understand. Yes, this charity is only 2 years old. It's only 2 years old. But in 2 years, we've rescued thousands of people from Afghanistan, rescued tons of people in Ukraine. Through our coalition and partnerships, we've either financially or in other ways supported operations all over the world. And now we have a functioning task force with federal, state, and local cooperation here in the state of Tennessee. And we're expanding task forces across the state of Florida. And the reason we've gotten this done is because this charity might be new, but this is done with law enforcement. This is done with the best in the world through our charity partners. And this is exploding because before I asked anyone for a dime, I made sure that we built the best product available to actually make a difference here in the United States of America that's going to save our children. And we have the best people. We've been able to find the best technology, and the only thing we need in order to expand this concept and bring it to regions and states across this country is we need people to realize that we're the truth. We're not some, fake, throw numbers around, put billboards up charity. We're putting their donor dollars into the tech, the resources, the equipment that the cops need, and we're literally changing the way that they can fight this fight. And if you don't believe me, come check the task force out here in Nashville, Tennessee. Come talk to the officers that are on the task force. Talk to the officers on the task forces we're starting in Florida. And we're moving this as fast as we can. But this has been done with the experts, and we built something that does work. And so we are legit. We're not putting up billboards. We're not bitching online. We're not throwing around false statistics. We're putting our money where their mouth is, and we're getting results, and we're changing people's lives. And as long as I'm the president of Lightshine and still breathing, we will continue to do that.
No, it's awesome stuff. Thank you, Murphy, or Matthew, for your service and your continued service to the country and to helping these kids and these people. Hopefully each day more people see the light and more people get pulled out of the darkness. And it's an honor to really spend time with you.
No, man, I really appreciate you having me, and thank you for giving me an audience, to discuss with the people that follow you and support your podcast. And just hit us up on Instagram, shoot us a message if you'd like to get involved. There's links to donate on the website and on Instagram. And I'm just looking forward to expand this across the country and continue to meet awesome individuals like yourselves, share the message, and we got a war to fight, brother.
No, I love it. Thank you, sir. Oh, hello. I'm just enjoying this nice fucking candle. Anyways, I'm John, the host of Spear Talk, and I want to talk to you about nice fucking candles. We are lucky to have Nice Fucking Candles as a sponsor of the podcast. And if you use code SpearTalk15, you get 15% off your first order, or use the affiliate link below to always get your candle needs through Nice Fucking Candles. Nice Fucking Candles are 100% soy wax. They have a 65-hour burn time, maybe more if you nurse the flame a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not an expert on flames or candles, but I will say these things burn a long fucking time. You ask me about the wick. It's a double wick for even burning, which is amazing. And they come in 3 incredible flavors. I'm not sure if you're going to be eating these candles, but if you do like them, the scents are eucalyptus and ginseng, tobacco and fireside, and seaside and driftwood. Once again, Nice Fucking Candles. They are the candle company for Spear Talk. And if you love candles and need a good scent to clear out your office, your room, your podcast room, your weight room, your whatever you're doing in a room that smells like crap, use this candle. It's amazing. Thank you. Check them out. Love Nice Fucking Candles.